So this was Operation Green Mind. We played the shotgun scenario, Let Me Grow, Let Me Die, written by yours truly. And yeah, I hope we all had fun. We played with Caius playing Agent STRATUM, Jan playing Agent SYLVAN, Mike playing Agent Simpson, and Caleb as a special guest playing Agent Sly. So before we get into all of this, Caleb, I just want to give you the stage again to plug everything going on right now.
Well, yeah, first off, great game. I had a good time. Like every good Delta Green agent, I had no idea what was happening. So, but I didn't die. So mission accomplished. Yeah, I write for Delta Green and Arc Dream Publishing. I also run my own game company called Heaven on Games. If you want to read some of my work, but you don't want to pay for it, the second edition of my game, Red Markets, is currently available for free or pay what you want at DriveThruRPG, itch.io, and on my Patreon, Heaven on Games Open Design. All you got to do is read the thing and run it and tell me what you think. And that's the price of admission, but it's a feature complete 250-page RPG with full progression and campaign systems. And I have been working on it for 10 years if you count the first edition, and 2 years if you count the second edition. So I am completely blind to its many flaws and could use some gamers to help me pick up on those. So that's my plug. Back to the Delta Green action.
Yeah, wonderful. Well,
before
yeah,
we get off topic on Red Markets, I had it open in a tab here. Looks really fucking cool.
Oh,
just wanted to say that. Love the
If
artwork you have on the website here.
Yeah, it's also super depressing. So if you're a fan of
I'm all about that shit. I play this game. I try and get my character to die in the most gruesome ways possible.
Now you can do it while the market's crashed and the economy is down.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
That's also kind of what this game's like.
Yeah,
by the looks of it.
We were joking with
Horror.
Max.
That's really cool. Could you just for the listeners, could you like kind of explain what you mean by economic horror, maybe?
Yeah, so Red Markets is a zombie apocalypse game. I'm not going to claim originality in the zombie genre, but it is a game of economic horror because the world has ended and your rent is still due. Like all things that are called an apocalypse, they are localized and they get borders around them. And the people inside these areas where the world and all structures have been destroyed are dehumanized and stripped of rights, but it's at the same time, as a result of that, hooked into the economic system as a vital function within its shadow economy. So yeah, in Red Markets, you are survivors of a zombie apocalypse. You are in the wrong side of it, in a place called The Loss. But in stuff like America, they still need to know the censuses of all the people before they died and who owns what property. And can you get me that movie that we had done printed before we put it out on films? Because all of us here in the safe zone would really like to watch it. And I'll send you some medicine or bullets or whatever things you poor people like. If you go get that for me. So it is a fully capitalistic zombie apocalypse. You have a job. Email still works according to a high altitude weather balloon Wi-Fi system. And you can be eaten alive by cannibal monsters that roam the land after death has died. So it is about taking the fantastic and the horrible and doing what we do every day in capitalism and normalizing it and making it a thing you do every day for work and that your family depends upon. So I call it a poverty simulator with some zombies stapled on to keep it from getting too real.
That's so sick.
It sounds like
Definitely
a much
gonna
better
pick it up.
version of that Netflix Army of the Dead movie.
Oh God, don't get me started.
That movie was fucking terrible, dude.
It's so
Holy
bad.
shit.
Yeah.
I skipped over all the parts where they were talking. It was a much better experience. And I love Dave Bautista too. So That was just a horrible script. Anyways,
Mm-hmm.
back to Delta Green.
Oh, wonderful. All right. Yeah, thanks for telling it. I think I really should check it out. That does sound amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, back to the game. First of all, obviously, I do hope that all of you had fun, even though you weren't completely 100% involved in everything all the time. But yeah.
Yeah.
What were the
this
goat
was
people?
so
Tell me
sick.
about the goat thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, technically, there's only one goat person, which is Finnegan. I wrote the scenario for the last year's shotgun contest, and it was basically a what if there's Shub-Niggurath cultists, but they aren't on one hand trying to create more fucked up weird children at New Life, and on the other hand aren't cutting their dicks off all the time. So I just thought about the idea of there's just this dude. He grew up in this woods that were blessed and sacred to Shub-Niggurath all of those years ago, and like he grew up in the 1820s, so he lived quite with nature, which rewarded him for his service to her sacred woods. He was rewarded, quote unquote, by morphing him with the forest himself. So he became this weird amalgamation. He could control the animals, and he also had the pleasure of bringing back animals into those woods that were there long before, but were extinct since then. And those were, for example, there were wolves, horridly mutated and with cancerous growths all over their bodies and shit like that. Just like the goats you saw. And yeah, basically he's as close to neutral as I could write him, because there's still a bit left of him. He's not just going out and killing everyone who treats into his woods. But when those idiots, or at least Victor, started his little logging business because he thought he could make big money by selling really old, intricate wood to collectors. Like, I mean, what would you pay to get a desk like that? Shit like that. So he started that. They got their warning from Finnegan. The workers couldn't understand him. They were basically innocent. They didn't even know that what they did was illegal. They were trained workers. They searched for jobs in America. They got all of their visas and everything. They were just double the victims. Like their visas got stolen by Victor and blackmailed to make them work, and then they also had to suffer the wrath. And yeah, I've invented a little new ritual for him, which is called Take Root, Let It Rot. And it takes days, or more like months, I guess, where the person, like, they have to be incapacitated first and then be put in the ground or a tree or anything in the woods. And there's going to be a whole root system growing through them, damaging their spine, damaging their brain, getting them to feel everything. Like, it keeps them alive, so they suffer for as long as possible, while also being absorbed into the forest as fertilizer until finally dying after a lot of time. And the caster, in this case Finnegan, absorbs their willpower through this process. Yeah,
Just
honestly, hell yeah.
That's gnarly as fuck. I love it. Did us killing that guy spare him of his fate, or
yes?
Okay.
Good.
Finnegan won't like this. If you kill him, he'll still be fertilizer if you would have left him in the tree. But if you kill him, like, you stop his suffering, and he's gonna be mad because in his mind, the forest had to suffer so much more than this just one individual had to suffer for.
Oh,
And yeah.
So it wasn't just me who was in danger. It was also Caleb's character who was in danger.
Yeah, that's why I was like, they shouldn't come back in the forest. I was like, they fucked with, they killed him, the food source, and they also like both burnt down a tree.
We split the group perfectly then.
Yep.
Some lucky
So-
Delta Green scientist got a tree corpse to study with no context. Like, hey, where'd you get this? Don't worry about it.
Did not burn that thing. I forgot
Just
about
dumps
that.
it on the doorstep.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, boy.
Christmas came early. And it's depressing.
I did love the theory that you came up with in the police department that the logging industry was a front for a drug ring. That was a really cool idea. I guess if you wanted to turn this into a longer scenario, maybe introduce that.
Yeah, I'm actually, I do think I want, because like the first time I playtested this, like I wrote it and I was like, yeah, easy, that's gonna be like a 4 to maybe 4.5 hour session. And then my players went completely off into the deep end and started asking around in the forest, in the city, about like old rituals, and like, hey, like the woman saw a goat, like in the playtest I had the woman actually see a goat running, so she was a bit more convinced. And they just kept asking around, and I just made up so much more stuff. And it was then later like, oh yeah, we had this ritual in town. It was like a little summer festival where every like 5 or 6 families kept feeding some goats, and the strongest goat would win the festival, and that family would be crowned, and then they would be released into the forest, like a little village get together, shit like that. But since the 80s, people said it's cruel, so we don't do that anymore. And then like in the 80s, shit starts going down again, because there's nothing being offered anymore. Yeah, that was
cool.
that was the idea, if I want to expand it. But also obviously the thing being what's it called, being set up to basically say, oh yeah, we're just a logging company and they also do drugs. That could also absolutely work. I could see that.
It'd be funny if it was just the loggers getting hurt and not anyone doing drugs in the forest. For making the drugs in the forest, because they're not hurting the land.
Could super easily argue the drug front, because like, yeah, if they're seeing shit in the forest, yeah, they're shooting heroin.
Yeah, not to belabor my past too much, because I've never been to Bedford, Pennsylvania. But if you're poaching lumber in Missouri, that is a pretty small time operation. If you are managed to pay $1,000 in 2000 money to every cop in the county, and you're still making profit. Now, it makes sense that there's a white guy lying to all these poor immigrants and saying that, yeah, I totally have rights. Go cut down that tree. That happens all the time. But for pennies on the dollar. But yeah, I would think he was up to something else, just because. That is some methed out tweaker level of crime. It's not exactly not exactly a Breaking Bad situation where somebody's building an empire out there. Yeah.
Maybe tone down the price that these officers are paid off on.
No, that's fair.
I mean, he also could be like just a trust fund kid who literally doesn't know what money is, because.
No, I mean, like,
related to the guy who runs the logging company. There you go.
Like, from what I understand, like Brazil and Singapore, there's a lot of exotic hardwoods where if you get like one tree, you're gonna eat for like an entire year. But like if you're just like cutting down a maple in Pennsylvania, it's probably not gonna.
I guess
for
like
life.
the one caveat is that this is apparently like some like obviously not tracking to real life, but allegedly some of the last old growth forests in the eastern United States, which probably still not to $1,000 a month to every single one of these dudes.
That's fair. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would
But-
work if he had but then you'd have to tie in buyers, because the main problem with that is not that it's so hard to get an old growth tree out of the forest without anybody noticing. It's that you got to fence that shit for something other than firewood.
Exactly.
And that's the tricky part.
That's
is knowing a
fair,
guy who wants 80-foot long single piece desks. Yeah.
It would be cool if the desks started to attack the people who bought them.
That would be so sick. Yeah.
Imagine, the next
Eats
operation.
everyone
is
in
just...
the conference room. Yeah.
Just like they went crazy and
No, there's-
everything's broken except for this beautiful, beautiful chair.
Beautiful desk.
My furniture is made of haunted mahogany.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, there's also the option of saying, "Yep, absolutely not." We're gonna you did the thing that I anticipate most people will do because obviously it's the easiest. He Finnegan approaches you in the form of a stag because that's he wants to feel out how you are. If you try to shoot him, he instantly rushes forward, trying to gore one of you with his antlers, which probably won't be too pleasant. And that's basically the thing at first. So, but you could also say, things are natural. Even if it makes sense, I'm not gonna have him be alive or be left alive.
I had a really bad joke for when you said there's a stag on that hill. I was like, do they have a woman with a cake up there too? Yeah.
That's the funny thing about not being native. No fucking clue.
The stag party is a bachelor party. Yeah.
All right. Fair.
I like that you made it rain because then the option of burning the forest down was gone.
Yeah, that was actually programmed in there. He casts Storm and Stillness with the willpower he already has, so it's raining for a bit, it's trickling down at the start. That's normal rain, and then he just escalates it.
That's so sick. I love that.
Yeah, also gives me a good bit of, oh hell yeah, I'm gonna make this a bit more moody. So now it starts raining and there's a little bit of a thunderstorm.
Yeah, there's something about the woods and that kind of dim light that happens when it rains, even early in the day, which is why we were all like, it's 4, let's fuck off, even though, the sun doesn't set for another 5 hours.
Yeah, the agents forgot umbrellas, so they just went home.
I'm sorry, we can't do this in the rain. Come on, guys.
The most realistic depiction of law enforcement.
My socks are wet.
Yeah, this sucks. Let's go home.
Cold out here.
I don't want to do this.
Pulling my Wayne jacket.
Yeah, our phone games weren't good enough, so we couldn't play Candy Crush in the car. Tragedy of the year 2000. Well, all we had was Snake.
On your little,
Yeah, we actually have to do newspaper crosswords.
I don't have any newspaper anymore. It's raining. I want to go home. Fuck this.
Yeah.
Economy will resolve itself.
It's like my disc runs out of batteries.
Was there anything that we missed that you would have wanted us to see?
The only thing you missed that I would have loved you to see, I technically did still show you. It was the body of Ernesto, which I showed Agent Simpson because Buck reminded me, when we did his character, I asked him if he wanted to have a ritual or two. So he had clairvoyance, which can, at the handler's discretion, randomly give you visions. Technically, it doesn't work exactly like this, but I could still show you that in this case. So yeah, the decaying body of Ernesto in the earth. In the scenario, it's written like if you wander from the crime scene, if you just wander a bit north following the goat's hooves, if you have a 60 alertness or a successful roll, you notice the face like buried in the ground. And if you fail or you don't have it and don't roll at all, you'll literally just step on him before noticing him.
Oh, God.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, I think all of our alertnesses are pretty high, so at least we got to see that that version of events in the vision.
you step instantly on it because I was like, come on, I'm teleporting you there in the vision. I'm showing you this. That's this thing. And basically, there wasn't all like I thought about like having him be able to talk. But then I was like, okay, if his face is half rotten off and eaten off and everything like that.
Man has no tongue.
Yeah. Also, the roots were already impairing his brain, keeping him in a vegetative state, so he can be absorbed by the forest. And also, that's most of the times the scene where Finnegan steps up as a stag to talk with the agents and remind them to leave those people in the ground. They cannot be saved anymore, and they have to pay. And he basically says, hey, if you're cool with it, if you leave those people, I'm cool with you being here if you don't damage anything. And in the first playtest I did, one player decided to end their suffering. She shot Ernesto and she killed Cristo. Like, she killed Cristo. She went in when they knew everything, like at the end for cleanup. They killed Cristo, burned the tree with him inside, and then killed Ernesto. And on their way back, Finnegan was like, "Hey, that wasn't really dope of you. How about we make a deal?
Money.
One of you stays behind."
Oh shit!
Yep, and they rolled for it, because both of them were like, "Oh fuck, this is my fellow agent," but she was thinking about, okay, she was also playing a park ranger. She was thinking about, okay, I want to save nature. We brought in Victor, but he wants one more because we killed those two dudes. She was thinking, I'm gonna offer myself, like, because she hit a breaking point at that stage when talking with him. The other agent was thinking more along the lines of, I have a shotgun, I'm gonna blast her kneecap.
Ooh. Very fun.
He didn't have to. She stayed. He walked on out as fast as he could. Just told the other agents, nope, she's never gonna come back. Let's go. Mission's done.
Wow.
Yeah, and
that's the hard thing. It's like you can't blame the forest for taking its revenge, but it's misguided. It's misdirected. Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't really operate on a human mindset, so it's hard to even say if it is misdirected.
Right.
It's just,
is. Very
Yeah.
clear cut, black and white on the perspective of, are you hurting it or not? Evil guy.
Yep.
How fucked were we if Caleb shot that stag?
Well, I don't think it would have died from a single shot. The stag, I gave it 17 HP and 4 armor points from the really thick hide.
Yeah.
So it doesn't die from one shot. And that's like an open declaration of standing yourself or positioning yourself against the forest. So you would probably have made it out. But if you went in after that, that would have been no bueno.
So we were very lucky it went the way it did, and that the two of us went back in. Yeah. Jeez.
Oh man.
I mean, good job, Lukas. That was. I mean, I was sincerely terrified with the trailer scene. I was like, no. Just heebie-jeebies. Yeah. Horrible.
Yeah, that was
awful.
a lot of fun.
Really cool.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, obviously we're really glad to have you. It's been really good. I've also had a great time running, since I only play tested it like twice and then never touched it again. So last time I ran it was like 3 months ago. And yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Yeah.
anyone's got questions for Caleb that they're itching to get off their chest before we wrap up?
I just wanted to give a shout out to like the my 3 other players. Like you characters are super dynamic. I loved the like back and forth, that kind of tentative dynamic between Sly and
Simpson.
I just like what you guys brought to the table to highlight that. It was a lot of fun.
That was great.
I'm glad the bioarchaeologist was a sin eater and executed a man without even my knowledge. That's pretty great. You put 70 in firearms, you think you're going to have a certain job, but just slip right in. I'm cool with that. Yeah. Keep my sanity. It sounds great. Yeah.
Yeah, you all got away quite good. Like obviously, STRATUM 8 sanity, like nothing else. But the rest of it, yeah, I think you got away quite fine. There's technically a 1d4 regain if you kill Finnegan, because even if it makes sense, he's still unnatural.
Yeah.
Right.
There's also, if you could have found the old home, the old family home, which is completely overgrown and fallen disrepair, but in its stead, like in the middle of it, there's like a big shrine to the mother of 1,000 young.
That's so sick.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, if one of you would have been incapacitated by him during a fight or anything like that, he would drag you there and offer you up.
I did want to ask Caleb, like your writing process. I mean, I've read some of your work. I'm avoiding God's Teeth because I really want to play it, but I've read and like Lover in the Eyes, Black Sites. I just love to pick your brain about kind of how you go about that whole process.
Yeah. So I actually came to writing RPGs really late, and I got a creative writing degree in college because I'm an idiot.
Don't say that because I'm doing that right now.
Okay, sorry. Well, I also had a teaching degree, so I taught for a number of years. So like when I came into writing Delta Green, it was never really, or any RPGs, it was never really for publication. I just didn't have friends after my first year teaching, working 80-hour weeks. So yeah, I joined the RPR crew, and it's kind of been a weird development because like I really don't write for other people. I write for my players, and I want them to have a good time, and I make the game something that I think is going to engage their character concepts or something I want to talk about. But being on an AP podcast that's been around since like 2007 at this point, it's like one of the longest running shows in the genre's existence. It's just sort of an it's an amazing feedback loop of like what people respond to and what they don't and what they like. I got the job working for Delta Green just because they nagged Dennis and Shane enough when they did the Labyrinth Kickstarter to make God's Teeth the stretch goal. And that's how I came to be working for the company full time now. So yeah, my process is still very much, oh damn, I got to make a show this month. It's very AP focused. It's very content brained. It's very much like I don't sit around and wait for immortal inspiration to strike because I got rent this month and we're gonna run a game. But as a result of that, I put out a lot of ideas pretty fast, and so in my game design, I'm just sort of constantly iterating and trying to make this draft better, make this test work better than the last one. And improve the number of people who like the game outside the table as much as I can through the microphone and publication now. So
yeah.
What sources do you find yourself most inspired from?
I'm really like abstract first. Oddly enough, sometimes I'll go with like I'll read a salient detail in something in the news or something like that, and I'll base a whole scenario around that. But Other times I'm like just using my my other degree I don't use in real life, which is a philosophy minor, and yeah, just trying to take a concept and being like, okay, we're dealing in an abstract space because we're pretending to be people we're not and using dice to randomize our events, and we're dealing with this abstract space. So how can I take this abstract idea and make it as real for the characters in this story as I can, in a way that's like tangible and is going to make people make interesting decisions. So so that's why when I write like long scale things, it's always the real enemy is capitalism, or the real enemy is the United States security state, and there just happens to be a cosmic god around that, like because I'm often trying to deal with stuff I can't touch in the real world and would like to shoot a gun at or talk to or do something that would be tangible in a RPG sense. So yeah.
Oh man.
Now we're picking your brain. Now this has turned into an interview. I hope this is all right.
Sorry, I talk about myself too much.
No, that's absolutely fair. I mean,
we're so happy we get to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta convince him to answer our questions.
Sure, but people are like, Caleb Stokes is on it. I want to hear what he has to say about this and this.
All my fans sound like that, actually.
Yeah.
100%. Oh, yeah. So
they all sound like some fat kid from New York.
So I think this is gonna be a bit of a mean questions, but out of all the things you've published, what's your favorite?
Oh, things I've published?
Yeah.
Oh, geez. I'm trying to think what's actually out now, because I write it and then it comes out like 3 years later and I have no idea. I'm like, oh,
That's
someone
fair.
else read that. Cool. I'm really proud of God's Law, which is the most recent thing I put out. It's only in playtest and layout drafts on Ghost.io, where all the Delta Green creators are. But I wasn't satisfied with. I originally ran the 4 adventures in God's Hunt, which is the sequel to God's Teeth. And 3 of them were in some form of the original playtest, but like I wasn't happy with one of them, and I'm like, I just want to redo it, and I redid it from scratch, and I think it's a better scenario to fit with the themes of that game, and it's also like one of the meanest things I've ever written, and I also am very tired of the well, you write for Delta Green, so you must love every single government organization that the United States has ever had, right? And I very much wanted to be like I don't know how I can make it more clear to you. The answer is no.
Oh, that's fair. I mean,
and that's God's Law. Yeah,
we see it crop up a lot in Delta Green communities, that kind of dichotomy of people that are like, this shit sucks, and our agents are bad people and dealing with these bad things, and these bigger cosmic entities are sort of added on to amplify it. And then there's this subset of people that are like, I fucking love my shotgun and the FBI is cool and my friend.
I absolutely love kicking indoors, licking boots, and deporting immigrants. I've seen people like this, and oh geez,
they don't have a very fun time with table. I'll be honest.
Don't get it twisted, listeners. We're basically all anarcho-communists on this.
This is where we alienate people that I am fine alienating.
Oh yeah.
I mean, let's be real. Come on. If anyone considers shit like if I tell people that like healthcare is a good thing and they respond with but I don't want to pay my neighbor, fuck you. Come on. What stupid shit is that? Like, obviously, I'm speaking from a position of privilege since I do have generalized healthcare here in Germany, and it's awesome. I love not paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for the simplest of surgical things, or even just if I go to the doctor because I'm sick. And I think like if I have to debate the right to health or to lead a healthy life, if I have to debate the right to have that, because poor people don't deserve that. Well, then fuck you. I want to alienate those people. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Now imagine, Lucas, if your wife needed a new kidney and you had to go out into the wasteland to slaughter a bunch of zombies to make the money. That is something you can do in red markets.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
You can
Full
pay me
circle.
later for that plug.
Thank you. The pitch segues have become mimetic and infectious. That's cool. That's great.
Ah.
Yeah, if I
Oh,
think
you
about,
know
like,
who else
we,
loves late stage capitalism?
if I think
Our
about like
sponsors.
paying for paying for like hospital stays, last year we had a 2-week hospital stay. Every day cost 10 euros. So I think
Yes.
that should be accessible to everyone. And if I even hear people saying that's radical, then what
Be
the
better,
fuck?
America.
Well,
That's what
what,
we're
what I
saying.
think is it's the hellscape that we live in. The one positive is that it creates really good art. Obviously, a better society would also create fucking phenomenal art. But I love seeing what creatives manage to do despite what we're going through, especially in the time period where creatives are being devalued with the like overuse of AI, and the the attempts to diminish the importance of the arts, liberal arts, and teaching. I just think it's so. I mean, we're a haha funny podcast, but what we do is art. What we the thing we engage with is a TTRPG. That's art. We are making stories together as like a community. I think like the reason I love Delta Green is the system so much. Obviously, the system's cool and the stories are cool, but the origin of it, I think, is my like top story where it just was something that the community made because they loved it, and then it expanded, and it continues to be so tied with the community, and I think that makes it so special, and so close to my heart.
Remember that AI is just a glorified plagiarism machine, and real creativity can only come from the real thing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're gonna have to burn some more forests to make one that can write well. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, let's
I think
hope
that
the forest
I think that's
fights back then.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, that goat's got some work to do in the future.
Yeah. Shout out to Finnegan.
Yeah.
Please do your shit
That's
right now.
why we
Yeah.
kept him
Right,
alive.
like, can I donate to Finnegan's Ko-fi or something?
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you my PayPal.
Yeah.
I think that's the best part about Delta Green because you sort of get your power fantasy when you get but it's interesting because it's so it's mired in Lovecraft, so you get the ability to talk about these larger abstract cosmic horror topics, and I think that's important. But I think the beauty of Delta Green is not that, because like COC has that and Call of Cthulhu and all that stuff. But I think Delta Green's and as a guy who has to write for it, I will use the term willingly, obsessive focus on like verisimilitude and the real world. The friction of that, and giving your players a sort of taste of the power fantasy by just exposing them to the unaccountability of these massive systems they now have power over, and then instantly snatching that away when something unnatural shows up and you realize, you're just a little human bug. I think you can say a lot of interesting things by sort of radically ranking up the scope and the angle of the shot in which you're showing the story by getting down into the sort of microcosm of the misery engine with your bonds, and then blowing it up to like epochs and millions of years. I think you can create a lot of interesting artistic effects that you don't get when you're just like, I don't want to do my downtime. I resurrect a skeleton to farm for me. Like, if it gets that whackity smackity do, it's hard to say something real, or at least for me. Yeah.
Right. And it actually brings up, I had mentioned it in an earlier arc, well, you mentioned it in a much more eloquent way than I can, but the disempowerment fantasy of Delta Green. And because so
Yes,
many
I was thinking of the same thing.
TTRPGs, so many TTRPGs, especially once you get to a certain point, you as a character are untouchable. Thinking to say Dungeons and Dragons, once you get past level 12, you're effectively a god. Nothing can touch you. But whereas in Delta Green, it doesn't matter how skilled, how badass your agent is. At the end of the day, they are going to get fucked up and they are going to eventually go insane or die horribly or burn out or something. And it's fun to watch them degrade in real time.
Yeah, and I think it's important to watch them degrade. It again, it ties into that idea that like absolute power is not possible, and attempting to reach it will just diminish your humanity and leave you a husk. You know, I mean, there's a reason. Like Delta Green agents are not good people. Like, this is coming out right after Stonefall. Our characters suck ass. They're bad guys. Don't root for them. They're bad people. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that you can really get into like the nastiness of humanity and like the pitfalls of it, and play with both the tragedy and the beauty of that. In a system that is designed to play with that, because you can do that in other systems, but Delta Green is designed to bring out those flaws and to bring out that pain.
Yeah. Also, I feel like generally when comparing, because Delta Green and Call of Cthulhu get compared quite often. When comparing them, I often like to tell players or potential players that while Call of Cthulhu just focuses on the, oh holy fuck, you're just a random dude getting thrown into this, oh my god, there's this monster. Delta Green focuses a bit more on the corruption of man itself, of mankind. Like what happens to people when they get power. Like, doesn't even matter where they get it from. Could be a random eldritch god or a tome they find. But I like the focus that's a bit more on the human side, because you can relate to that. And to quote one of my players when we played through God's Teeth, he liked to say that after every session, after all the misery we just had because we kept it quite roleplay heavy, and it is very hard. Like it deals with very hard subjects, but it does so fantastically, in my opinion. That's why I ran it twice, and currently on the third time. He always said, while you have this like power fantasy in other role-playing games, in Delta Green, it's more like, or especially in the campaign we played, it was more like you're relieved that you can get out of the husk of this terrible human being who just had so much shit happen to him, that you're relieved to be yourself. Like you're now back into your reality, and your biggest problems aren't what's going on there. Your biggest problem is like, I don't know, a squirrel with your landlord, or price of groceries going up and shit like that. So he always said even though it drags you down, you're relieved to be you again after a session.
Yeah, because I think it's something because I do activist work, and something I always try to impart on people that I talk to is that ultimately, you should be aware of the facts. Being not knowing what's going on, is being unprepared, is dangerous. But you can't live in constant terror of it. You do have to find an outlet, and you do have to find hope in it. Whether that's like, I packed my go bag today and I have that ready, and if something happens, that's there. And so now I'm gonna go and I'm gonna sit outside for 5 minutes and just listen to the birds. If it's, I can't look at the news this week. I have to just call my friends and play Delta Green or play D&D or what have you. That's fine. You need to do something that gives you hope. And I think something about Delta Green, it puts you in a situation where, yes, you're often in kind of a hopeless mindset. You're like, well, my character's gonna die, and when you're in your character's head, it's like I'm either gonna die or I'm gonna go crazy, and this shit's gonna keep happening. But also there are other cells. There are other, there's backup. There's always something. You can run, you can fight, you can rage, you can do something. And obviously in a game it's a little less possible always to fix it. But we see that in history, that suffering isn't always forever. So if you need to put all your anger and all your pain into a stupid bioarchaeologist, absolutely fucking go for it. make that little squirrel suffer, and then go and live your life and go and fight through it.
Go out there and kill squirrels.
Don't go out there and feed healthy acorns that are good for them.
One by one. And also try and find your nearest government conspiracy agency to join too while you're at it.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, join the FBI, join ICE.
Whoa. And cut.
Cut the mic.
Yeah, that is not an official endorsement from Archery Publishing.
No.
Yeah, we want to distance ourselves.
Absolutely not.
For legal reasons, this is a joke. As is everything else I say. I've had an itching question about mainly about Lover of the Ice and specifically the Amante.
Yeah, what's up?
I guess a few questions. One, main inspirations behind this creature's design. It's one of my favorite things ever, man. I want to get a fucking tattoo of it on my leg.
Oh god, don't.
Where exactly on your leg, Mike?
Yeah,
it's like right on your thigh, baby.
I've got Shub-Nigroth on my fucking left shoulder already. So
I'm just saying, if I see certain parts of the Amante on your leg, I'm moving my beach towel. I'm gonna find someplace else to hang out.
I love creatures with giant cocks or tails.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I can tell you my inspiration for that. I remember that. Yeah, so that was like the second game I ever ran. And I ran it long before I ended up writing it. So it was two things. There was a interview with Dan O'Bannon about Alien, who talked about why the Alien franchise works.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is a trigger warning, obviously, because Dan O'Bannon talking about Alien, but it's talking about you need to make real the fear that every woman experiences every day in a patriarchal culture, and that is a fear of violation and of loss of bodily autonomy. And so I'm just like, oh well, okay, I've never run a horror game before, but Alien's pretty good, so I'll follow that advice. So I made the subtext text, obviously, with the Amante. The other thing was, in grad school, I had to organize 47 copies of a failed novel for archival search, written by hand on yellow legal pads.
Oh my God.
Left behind the estate of this guy who wrote exactly one book, won the Booker Prize for his book, taught the rest of his life as an alcoholic at the University of Arkansas, died, and then I had to catalog every minute difference between every draft of this novel he never published and wrote by hand. And that was the entirety of what I did for grad school. So the whole thing about the Amazon, that was just like me imagining a more interesting story for this story I had to read literally dozens of times and file every minute differences. And then the last thing was, have you ever seen Freaks, that black and white movie?
Yes.
No. I'm going to look it up now, but
there's an image of a legless man who he can move. He runs on his hands, and it is some of the most, like, he sprints on his hands with no legs.
I've
and
only
I didn't
seen
like
pictures
any
of this
part of
movie.
seeing that. So I'm like, that's a good image for a monster. So yeah.
Oh yeah, this is
Yikes.
horrifying.
Yeah,
Despite the name
Absolutely
of the
amazing
film,
stuff.
pretty woke because the circus quote
Yeah.
unquote freaks end up murdering the bad guys.
fuck
at the end of the
yeah.
thing.
Right.
But the horror is still the little guy scrabbling at you with his hands.
Oh, yeah. No,
It's
like
an uncanny image. So
yeah. They humanize these people extremely well, and then just show like how fucking terrifying they will be when they are coming for your ass.
oh, and when I was in college, if you've read all of Lover in the Ice,
Yeah.
Kit Mills's house, covered in the pornography. That's an actual place I went into, not on purpose. But
Ooh.
there was a guy I went to high school with who moved down to the college near me, and he invited me over to his house. And while it wasn't plastered on the wall with the same fluids, or at least I hope not, he had covered every square inch of the house, and I mean the ceilings. I mean the insides of doors, every single wall with Maxim foldouts. It was every room was nothing but naked women from the old men's magazines Maxim, and he was like looking. He was like,
God damn.
"Yeah, man, we bring girls over here all the time," and I'm just like, "Sure, I bet they love it." And I'm like slowly backing towards the door.
Ooh, I hope he got therapy or something worse.
I don't know because I did not call back or hang out with him ever again.
Good idea.
But I'm like, yeah, that's got to go. That's got to go in something later. Yeah, this place is insane.
Yeah, he's the unnatural vector. All these women he keeps bringing into his home, they're on the walls now.
Yeah. Oh god.
I think the unnatural vector was all those women were ghosts and invisible and didn't exist. But he wanted me to believe they did. Yeah.
Use your life, people. It is the best inspiration. That is a crazy story.
That's
Oh my god.
awful.
When I read that, I was like, wow, that would be crazy if I ever walked in a place like that. I can't believe you actually had to. Was it also hot as fuck in there?
I don't know. I was not there for very long. It was like sort of a Greek row pub crawl thing, and it was very much like the grandpa system. Go in, put on your hat, get the hat, turn around.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I was not there for long.
Good.
Was the college party orgy also a experience you
Oh,
had?
I mean, no, you couldn't get one woman in that house. I'm not sure how you'd get enough to count for an orgy. Yeah.
Oh man. Oh, I
Oh,
always have
God.
fun running that one. That's my favorite scenario, man.
Oh, cool. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah. I love describing the room, just the office filled with cum. It's hilarious.
The stalactites under the desk, that's the worst part for me.
yeah.
I love describing that to people.
Every time people find out why the keyboard's sticky, I get the best reactions. It's like, oh,
Yeah, I pulled a lot of that from real life. Like the ice storm really hit that. It didn't. La Fontaine's not real, but it hits the town. It hit the town when I lived in when I was in college. So I was without power for like a month, just couch surfing because the ice destroyed nearly the entire electric infrastructure in the city. Yeah, all that stuff happened. Sadly, the stalactite that is a thing I discovered when I was an RA. Yeah, a lot of images in the city.
God.
It was worse in real life. I couldn't make the worst. So the dude was a swimmer and quite the looker, and he had the top bunk of the dorm. And we got called in there because he didn't clean up his room after move out day. And so we turn on the light, and there's just this terrible smell. And it gets worse and worse the longer we're there. So what Lothario was doing, and again, apparently this worked, and I just don't understand how. He would have safe sex, good for him, on the top bunk, but then he didn't want to get up out of bed afterwards because he was eepy. So he just took it off and put it on the light fixture next to the bunk bed.
No.
So there was a wad of burning biohazard latex that would get hot whenever the light fixture was on. And like, oh man, I was really working for my room and board that day. Let me tell you, that was pretty brutal. Yeah.
Holy shit, dude.
My hall director's like, clean that up. I'm like, I'm like, throw me on, fire me. I'm not doing that. I'm not touching that. I'm leaving. Yeah.
You're saying
You
this
don't
guy
pay
was
me enough for
attractive.
this. I wrote a report about it. Yeah.
The dude must have been like a 11 out of 10 if girls would come back in there would smell the burning latex and come and just be like, yeah, you know what, this is good.
I was a resident assistant for like 2.5 years because I was poor and it was the only way to get through school. And we talked about it every meeting, every week. We game theoried it. Like, was it always dark and they never knew? Like, we couldn't figure out like how you.
That's as bad as Asmongold saying that he wakes up to a dead rat cooking in his room every morning.
I mean, at least it's his room. Like, it was a rented, like, there was a roommate. Like, there was 40 dudes on the floor. Like, yeah, it was wild, yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I went to a terrible place for college. That's where Lover in the Ice came from. I guess that's
good to know.
the long and short of it, yeah.
Oh, boy.
You're a horror writer. Just go to horrible places. Great inspiration.
And the inspiration gotta come from somewhere at least.
Yeah.
I mean, I currently work for actually a pretty decent university in a terrible state.
Man, residence halls, there's whew.
Yeah, thankfully I don't have to deal with that too bad, but like the worst thing I've had to deal with so far is there was a grad student who, and to their credit, they didn't think I'd be walking in, but like they were in the classroom as I walked in, they were openly drinking from a bottle of vodka that they had stashed in their backpack, just chugging it down, which is really just more sad than anything else. And just basically, hey, look, I didn't see anything, man, but like you might want to talk to somebody. That's not healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great American institution. You're 19. It's you do this or you go to the army to pay for school. Here's a clipboard. You're a cop without a gun. You're the first responder. No, we won't be training you on first day.
Yep.
No, we will not be giving you any backup. Go, hey, that guy on the football team who's drunk, slamming a handle of vodka, go stop him. You're an interpretive art major who dance your way into making him not hit you. It was a crazy task to ask anybody to do. I don't know how I got through it. Yeah.
Oh my god. That's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I'm gonna be.
I'm
floored.
I'm reeling.
It happened 20 years ago. I'm still thinking about it.
I'm gonna be re-listening to this at least 5 times. This one part about
just to try and understand it.
Your inspiration.
Hey,
Holy
Max,
crap.
enjoy.
I cannot believe that.
Oh god, I don't like that the cumsicles are real. It's very upsetting.
That's real life psychic damage.
Hell yeah.
I guess the difference is that they were like, I don't know, what's the one come from the floor? Stalagmites? I can't remember the difference.
I think so. Yeah.
They were building up, not going down.
Oh, that's so horrible.
That's if imagine you're
honestly that makes it worse.
Really sleepy, and you step on one of those.
No.
Little booby trap.
Oh god, why?
Rather step on a punchy trap, I'm gonna be honest.
I'd rather just die, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
all right.
The fact that they're growing up from the floor, that makes it worse. That makes it infinitely worse. If they were just ripping down, that's one thing, but no, they're growing up. Fuck, dude.
Every time I talk about that one part, I always just keep escalating where they find the cum.
Yeah.
Just like, now you notice that this will come on.
Yeah, I've run it a bunch of times, and I normally people physically remove themselves from the room. Like I do like that when I'm like describing it. And there's like, no, my character turns around and leaves.
Yeah.
Like, all right, that's you'd probably do that. Yeah, that's good acting. Yeah, very method of.
Yeah, I think I've had people audibly gag on mic with me describing the stuff in that scenario. So good writing, sir. Good writing.
Yeah. And I'm curious. So again, I haven't read God's Teeth, but I know about it. I know about like the content in it. obviously you're pulling from Lower in the Eyes real life. I'm not asking, well, where are you pulling from? I'm asking, as a writer, when you're approaching these topics, how do you do it and stay sane? I guess is my question, because it is so heavy and it is so much like it's to deal with. You put yourself in there.
Yeah, I would say like the one thing I did is I didn't put myself in there intentionally. I think it was just like I was a happy-go-lucky RPG writer skipping down the street, and Shane Ivey like tucked me into a van and said, "Write the most depressing thing ever." I don't think I could have done that, like rubbing my face on it intentionally, but I was a teacher for 10 years, and while I have certainly not seen anything compared to like a nurse or a professional social worker or a child advocate, in I have had interactions with all of those people. I've had cases with those people and hotlined based off of schools because I taught English, and the stats on that are staggering. If there's going to be some sort of revealed CSAM or a horrible abuse of that issue, it almost always comes out in an essay or a poem or some like it's really you and the art teacher who are just like on the front lines of hotlining when that stuff happens. And in that regard, I learned more about it because I wanted to help. Like I wanted to help. I wanted to be good at what I did. I wanted to approach it carefully in a way that helps victims and gets people to safety. And I think I was responsible as a mandated reporter while I was a public school teacher. But by the time I was writing God's Teeth, I had left the profession once already. I was working in a private behavioral health facility for children that was court mandated. So there was issues that like paled compared to what I was already dealing with in public schools. Like for instance, King Torino Children's Refuge. If you've ever been to, I worked there. Like I just described a place I worked one time, and moved it into a different place. So yeah, it was. I would not say that you go out into the world and seek to write about a controversial topic, because I think that's a good way to step in it. And do something insensitive. And I may have done that in God's Teeth. But what I did was I tried to preface it at every step of the way. I tried to ensure that your players were safe, like I did when I was in a very black mood and told everyone at RPPR, like, I want to try something different. And that became God's Teeth. And then ultimately I wrote about it because it was on my mind, because, after 11 years, I think I taught 13 total. But like the scale of it starts to be cosmic horror in the real. Like people talk about like, oh, what if there was a whole planet and it came and it ate our whole planet, like Hellstar Rinma style. It's so big and cosmic and unthinkable. And I'm like, yeah, at this point, I'm like, bring it. Like I'm first in line. Let me let me jump into the maw. But when I think about like truly intractable, untouchable, like all-consuming problems and terrors, like that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, that keeps me up at night. And my empathy and my fear and my trauma and all that stuff is so counterfeit. It's such a debased coin compared to like anyone law enforcement dealing with it, anyone in child advocacy or mental health care dealing with it, even anyone on the front lines experiencing it. Like the fact that it keeps me up at night and freaks me out. But like I can't like take any ownership of that because it's such a debased, like secondary, tertiary, quadutiary experience to some true awful thing. That was what I wanted to be like, okay, Delta Green is the one game that will stare at this in not a way that's exploitative, but in a way that is not pretending. Not going to pretend something else is happening. So that is where that came from. I'm sorry to end this conversation or get to the back end of this conversation after my fun condom pile story with this awful bummer of a introspection. But
I mean, I think it comes back around to like what's so important about the game and about the world that we build while we play it and write it. It's just so couched in the real, the good and the bad of that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just vital to portray, and it's vital to have a space to get it out, even if you're not putting it out there, right? Like we're doing podcasts, you're writing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just playing at home, right, you're still getting something. You're still getting something valuable, like extremely valuable, even if it's just the funny cum story, because that's so tied with like the horrors of sexual abuse and yeah.
And I mean, there's less serious reasons I wrote it too, because like Delta Green is such a motivated game on like civil service and the branches of the American government, and getting into the nitty gritty of how the beast works. And like everyone's an FBI agent or a CIA agent or a spec operator, and none of them are as tough as the lightest, oldest lady social worker I've ever met. Like there's guys who went to Fallujah 3 times who are ninnies compared to like Barbara, who has walked into hell without a gun, nothing but a cell phone and a clipboard, has walked into hell and back daily for like $24,000 a year. And so what I was thinking about, like, all right, what kind of Delta Green players do you don't have to play? Like Nurse Delta Green, Department of Education Delta Green. Like those guys would be, those guys would make the Stone Coat Killers think twice, because empathy
you
so
start
extreme
the game
you
already
become
adapted.
Yeah, empathy so extreme you become obsessed and calloused and like driven to the point of madness. I've seen that in the real world with people, and that seems like a Delta Green agent for me, when it comes down to if there were a fictional, more quote unquote more serious problem. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think looking at timing and all of that, I think we looped around very nicely to some serious themes. So yeah, to close this off, I once again want to say thank you all for playing through the little shit my brain came up with. And yeah, Caleb, thanks for getting on the show, for playing our little stupid dance. And
I had a blast, man. It was great.
Hell yeah, that's what I wanted to hear. Now I can officially tell I ran you through a scenario of mine, which, goddamn, that's a bucket list.
Yeah,
so,
I'm voting for Immortal Goat Man in 2000. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Hell yeah.
Somebody has to tell him about voting and like getting himself onto the presidency, and there we go.
I mean, he is technically he is a citizen of the United States. He can vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goat Man for
if
what's the
Goat
next
Man
election?
got elected,
20
then I mean
28?
something else
Yeah,
wouldn't have
2028.
happened. So
Goat Man 2028.
Okay. I think we're gonna close it with with Goatman 2028 for president. Thank you all. Have a great night, or whenever you're listening to it. Have a great day. Yes.
Do you want to plug anything else? Your socials again, Caleb, just for the viewers.
Oh yeah, the only social network I'm really checking anymore, and this may be obsolete by the time you even hear this, but it is Hebanon Games on Blue Sky. So Hebanon Games got social.blue sky or whatever their terrible URL is. I'm on there. You could also just find me by searching my name. Mainly, you should look for Red Market 2nd Edition, the completely free game you could have right now if you just give me feedback.
And we will link all of that in the description.
Thank you.
And if you're in our Discord, it will also be linked in our Discord like 50 million times. So.
All right. Yeah, you all thought this was a 3-man job, but then the 4th one starts talking.
We just keep forgetting, like, fuck, every time he talks.
How high is your stuff again?
I had to pull up thispersondoesnotexist.com so I can randomize a face. So,
all right.
I'll describe it to you now. I just noticed the big puppet behind Caleb.
Right. Sometimes fans give you puppets of yourself. What can you do?
Nice.
There's not an aftermarket for that. I can't sell it, so it lives with me now. Yeah.
If someone gave me a puppet of myself, I would cherish it with.
I do. I love. It's. I'm joking around. It's from Ginn, from Eclectic Eccentricities, and it's my little Caleb puppet. Yeah.
I imagine you love it as much as I would.
Yep.
Got my full throttle energy in my right hand. I bought from the Home Depot.
Oh man, if that had been invented in 2000, I don't think I made it through high school. I think I was very lucky that wasn't around.
Yeah, guys, I think he's a tree.
Damn. Wow.
That was a great observation, I have to say.
Hey, if you shoot yourself in the head before your hand becomes a tree, it'll do the job fine.
There you go. Exactly. See, that's what we have them for.
Good effect on target. Yeah.
Yeah, make sure to always do a title drop before shooting yourself in the head with a 9mm.
Remember,
I'm about to
you
retire.
can't take care of others unless you take care of yourself.
Like and
first.
subscribe.
Yeah.
Kill yourself.
Like and
if the unmatched is too close.
Gonna put in a HR complaint to ASO.
Yes, it was Agent Simpson, dude. Maybe
A thing that existed in the 2000s and that Delta Green
Yep.
definitely had.
Obviously.
Yeah.
I imagine Simpson's well on his way to becoming
Liability.
Yeah, becoming the opera.
No, not that. I was gonna say case officer, since they're always unbin.
Oh, yeah. Well, one or the other, depending on how this goes.
What kind of dog you got?
Oh, it's a dog breed. I just have cats. I'm a big dog guy.
If it's the 2000s in America, it's probably a Labrador.
That's literally the thing I just clicked on.
It's a dog-shaped dog. Unfortunately, I don't have the 5 hours to explain how the root of all this is the exploitation of capitalism.
Yeah. But the forest understood. The two people that work in National Park Service are just like, yeah, no, this is probably the right thing to do.
Yeah, we give the unnatural forest creature what it wants. If it leaves us alone. If something happens again, that's a problem for future cells.
Exactly. So crit
Everyone's
success 55
fine.
under 62.
Just like, whatever, this guy fucking
Peace.
sucks.
See you later, man.
This guy sucks.
Nice mean you, man.
Yeah.
Make like a tree and leaves.
Deuces.
This is your average Magic the Gathering player, is what you're describing to me.
No, he doesn't smell like shit.
Dude,
I'm sorry to everyone playing Magic out there.
Oh my god. No, I went to F&M last night, and there was a guy, I could smell his fucking ass crack from 5 feet away.
Geez.
It was disgusting. Do better, Magic players. Anyway.
Yeah.
That'll make it to the blooper.